Here we are on chapter 1, lesson 1, and we're going to continue the number line lesson using greater than or less than symbols. So you've already learned about horizontal number lines and vertical number lines, and we're going to really dive into using the less than and greater than symbols. So to continue from number 10 that you have already worked on, you've already done the vertical number line and drawn that out, just like this one shows you here. Then we're going to compare the different numbers. So whether this decimal of 1/10, which is also equal to 10 hundredths, is greater than or less than 5 hundredths, which you can see here. So on the vertical number line, remember numbers that are less are lower on the number line, and numbers that are greater are higher on the number line. You can also turn this to the right to make it look like a horizontal number line if that helps your brain. And you can see 1/10 here, which is also 10 hundredths, and 5 hundredths here. So numbers to the left on a horizontal number line are less, and numbers to the right are greater. So we must remember that. So looking at the place value, we can see that we can obviously make our decision based on the number line, but we can then compare place value and say the zeros are the same. And in the tenths place, the 1 is greater than the 0. So our symbol should be greater than. And then the next problem says, is 2 hundredths greater than or less than 7 hundredths? When you say it, hopefully you start to realize you can look on your number line and 7 is above the 2. You can also compare the place value. The 0 in the ones place is the same. The 0 in the tenths place is the same. You go to the hundredths place, and 2 is less than 7. So 7 hundredths is greater than 2 hundredths. So I would read this as 2 hundredths is less than 7 hundredths. Okay, we're going to practice number 15. So still on page 11 in your textbook. It says to draw a vertical number line still. So we know our number line should go up and down. It says positive decimals less than 7.5 with an interval of 75 hundredths between each pair of decimals. So we know our largest number on our number line will be 7.5. So 7 and 5 tenths. Okay, so 7 and 5 tenths, and then intervals of 75 hundredths. So to write this out, I would need to add a placeholder 0 in the hundredths place to subtract that 75 hundredths. And you should get 6 and 75 hundredths. If you want to check it with addition, you can. And since I have a long ways to go to get to 0, which is my neither positive nor negative, but where I should stop, because that would cover all of my positive numbers, I'm going to skip just one line. And then to subtract another 75 hundredths, hopefully you can see that's just 6, which I can write just with the 6. I don't have to put the decimals on there. And then I should be dotting some of these. So it says positive decimals less than 7.5 or 7 and 5 tenths. So it has to be less than that. So I should not dot the 7.5, but I should dot the 6.75. What do you guys think about the 6? Talk to your neighbor about whether or not I should dot the 6. So how many of you said I should dot the 6? It's less than 7.5. Is it a decimal? It can be simplified to a whole number, right? So like when we did the fraction ones, if it can simplify to a whole number, we should not dot it. So you could go either way on this one, but I would say you should not dot this decimal, because technically it's simplified to a whole number. Your book, in the back of the book, will actually tell you on odd numbers to dot that, which is fine. But it technically is not a decimal, it's a whole number. So then I subtract 7/500ths more. And that is a decimal. And then subtract 7/500ths more. Getting some regrouping practice today. And that is a decimal. I didn't need to do that, did I? And then again, it's technically not wrong if you dot that, but you can, but you don't have to. And you should see the pattern with your decimals coming. And again, you don't have to have that 0 on the 3 either. And then remember, 0 is neither positive nor negative, so even if you were dotting the whole numbers all along, you would not dot 0 because it's not a positive number. So you could have this shown, or you could have dotted these whole numbers, and that would be appropriate as well.